Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Quilting Unscripted, where the chat is casual and all about things quilty. So, how's the weather in Vermont, Lynn?
It's a little darn snowy. Actually, 2 weeks ago, it was late summer. Now it's like winter. We've had some serious black ice for this time of year where the roads north of here, I live right in central Vermont, but up in the northern third of the state, it's been a real sort of like wreck on the interstate. The interstate's been closed down for several hours in the last 2 days. And it's just really like turned to winter. All of our leaves have blown off the trees. There's not a leaf left. The hills are that gray winter color.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not very sunny and sort of damp and cold. So weather's great.
It is November. November seems to be like that. Hello, Heather. Heather just lined in. Nice
All
to
right.
She's out there watching. So coming from Northern Ontario, 4 hours north of Toronto, I can honestly say we've only had a dusting. I did, however, my snow tires aren't on yet. They're on this weekend. And, it's funny because we're getting old, Lynn. You get used to that sense of security, knowing the rubber underneath your tires got a little bit of extra grip. And I went to Guild last night in Sudbury. And when I came out, it was snowing. And I'm about good 45 minutes or more out of the city. So there was those moments where I'm like, I'm really hoping that this stuff on the highway is water and not ice. But it was fine. And the snowflakes weren't huge. They were just misty. So all was good. But it's that first couple of drives, in the winter that make you realize why you like to stay at home after 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah, on Monday, this storm blew in and I was on the other side of the state. So I had to go over 2 gaps to get home. And the students were getting a little nervous. So we cut class a little close at the end. We broke out at 3. So I was on the road by 3:30. And it's good because some of the students just barely got home before it really got bad.
Yeah.
So I was actually traveling east. So I was like, the storm was right on my back, but they were going north. So it was all good. But I was glad I left because then I got the most of the trip in the light. Because it gets dark here just right after 4:30 now.
Yeah.
So, but it's winter. We live here. We it's a thing we deal with, and we just take our time.
It's put the wood stove on. Find your snow machine. Find your snow machine. Find your sewing machine, and whatever handwork you do, and snuggle on down. I had mentioned that I was at Guild and I got asked to do a bit of an impromptu presentation, nothing too involved, but they run a Quilting 101 class. And so I got to talk about our 2 favorite tools, Tucker Trimmer and Wing Clipper, the Flying Geese by 4. One of the things that I did have the opportunity to show, and it was sort of a really good refresher even for me, because we do tend to fall back a lot on these techniques, their tools are expensive, and they're expensive up here. So I also demoed how to square up a flying goose with out the wing clipper ruler. Hey, Shirley, I'm so glad that you're on. Lynn and I sent you an email. You need to email me or call me. Actually, email me with your phone number. Get a hold of me. We need to chat. It's about the cruise. We'll tell you more as the episode evolves. See, this is what happens at Unscripted.
Right. We just start babbling about things. People pop on.
Had a fun time. It's always fun to be with new quilters and get them motivated and pumped up and doing things. And I did, Lynn, have an opportunity to, I had an opportunity to talk about your block of the month.
Yes.
Because I talked about the Tucker Trimmer, I happen to say my friend Lynn has an All Things Tucker Trimmer Block of the Month coming out.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Well, Heather, who's on, was in one of my UFO classes. So she's just a returning student, and she's a ton of fun. So we had a good day last week together. She came up and she was working on her Ellie's blooms. Oh, thanks, Heather. She's seen the block of the month in person, so yep, she's excited about it as well. And her local shop, she'd come up to my local shop in New Hampshire that I teach at, but her local shop in southern New Hampshire is going to do my block of the month. So they've ordered the fabric, and they're getting ready to launch that up in late spring when this fabric line's available in some of the shops. So we're excited about that.
And that's the quilt you have behind you tonight, correct?
Yeah, so here she is. So, oops, I've got a shadow going, sorry. The lighting is as we do it. But it's called Over and Under. And it is just that Tucker Trimmer one, and you're going to do 4 techniques with the Tucker Trimmer one. So, yeah, I'm really thrilled about it. It's a great quilt for someone who's not done a block of the month before or is being introduced to Studio 180. And that trim down, because it's a 68 square, and it's only 6 months, 5 months and a finishing month. So it's not like you're committing to one of these larger bed quilts that take forever to make, and you're going to do it all for a whole year. So you put it down, you take it up, you put it down, you take it up. So it's a good place to start if you've never done a block of the month. So. Or use the Tucker Trimmer, because you really get to learn why we love the Tucker Trimmer so much.
I just scanned, and Shirley notified me that December the 11th is a Thursday. So it's the 9th.
Oh, darn.
That's me. That
And
is
me.
me. That is me. Just a minute. We will fix.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley. We need those editors on there.
All of our proofers.
Yeah.
We rely on them heavily, and we love everybody helping us out like that, whether it be on a pattern or just an announcement like this, or because we're human. We're just human like you. So
for those of you that are looking at Lynn's block of the month now. You did that for Island Boutique.
Yes.
So these are the fabrics from Island Boutique that you used in the fabric line that you're promoting.
That is correct.
Now, because she's my friend.
Oh, good.
I said, okay, Lynn, I'll bite. I'll do your block of the month, but I got to get started because Shirley, are you listening? I might do the leap of faith and actually do it as a free YouTube thing. So I had to go pick out fabric. But the line of fabric that Lynn used in her block of the month is not available till
April. Ships out of the factory in April. So it's mostly people are starting May or June of this year and beyond. So
Carla's not waiting till April, because that's when our fabric gets shipped from Island Boutique, and then life goes inside out and upside down, and then it's summer, and then you wake up and it's the middle of October. So I went to the local quilt shop, Cindy B's in Espanola, and I picked out fabric, which is so not me, but I love this print right here.
Yeah, I think it'll work great.
Yeah. With the blues and a little bit of that peachy orange, which I love. So, I got nothing else to do in my spare time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want you sitting around eating bonbons. We've talked about this.
So what else has been up? What else have you been doing?
Oh, well, this month has just been full of trying to finish the ends for the year. So I'm finishing off my teaching in November, but in October I started Alaska, 2-part Alaska. So we finished that. And then I taught that at Middlebury the Quilters Corner in Middlebury. So that was a lot of fun. And then I actually got to take a class. Oh my gosh. So we don't often have prime class days off, but I had a Saturday off and I told everybody, you know what, I'm taking this Saturday and I'm going to do this for myself. So I took a class from a friend of mine. Her name is Karen Abrahamovich. She's from the Burlington area in Vermont. And we've been friends for a long time. We were on the board of directors for the Vermont Quilt Festival together. That's how we met. And she has developed a strip piecing method where you strip piece in columns, and she's pixelated every state, every country. And I went and I made my miniature Vermont. So the patterns that you get from her have 4 sizes. This is the smallest size, which these little strips are 1/2 inch wide when you get done. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I just took the day. This is my fall version of Vermont. So I'm planning on doing all 4 seasons. But
we have a really funny story about Lynn's Vermont. So she posts it on one of our friend group threads that we chat back and forth about all things quilting problems. And look what I just finished. And this now, I mean, I'm lucky if I can distinguish the different provinces. If you were to isolate a province, probably Ontario, yes. PEI probably looks like this. Anyway, and this thing comes up and I'm trying to look at it and I'm thinking, what in the world did she just, what is this supposed to be? So we were all commenting going, that's really nice, Lynn, but what the heck is it? So Lynn had to verify what it was. I met Karen when we were in Chicago.
Yeah,
and what caught my eye was she has Canada. She has the country, and then each of the provinces are done strip pieced. So if it's smaller, you get a little strip and a longer backgrounds on the back. Anyway, I do have the pattern. I was unable, and they all live in another country, so I wasn't able to take the course, but I do have the pattern. And if you happen to go on her website, now, Lynn, you can,
so Karen's Etsy shop is where you can find all her patterns. Okay. And so it's Quilt VT, as in Vermont, shop. Okay. So go to Etsy and put Quilt VT shop, all one word, and you'll find her shop. And she has all the states, all the countries. She has many of the countries of the world done now. She has some animals done. She's really gone. This kind of like started during the pandemic. She made Vermont during the pandemic, and then she just, I don't know, started on a roll. And she first made this lap size one, and then she made them she decided the patterns needed to have 4 sizes. And so all the patterns have 4 sizes based on the strip width. And it's all the same process, and it's just very fun, and so I'm really excited about it. So
refresh my memory. You cannot add to the comments, Lynn?
I can't.
Okay, so Karen's
Etsy shop.
Karen's Etsy shop is
Quilt.
Hang on. I forgot a space. Quilt VT
shop. Yep. So check it out. They're really fun. They're PDF. We just download it. It's instant. So there. Yeah, and she does teach too. So if you're a local, she's mostly teaching in the Northeast at this point, but she's on Facebook too, and
if you're interested, get a hold of me if you're in Canada, because I can pull Karen's patterns in. And you know what I'm going to say is you are far more beneficial to just PDF download them.
Yeah, just PDF her. Because she does have a wholesale website for all of us that, would retail her patterns. But if you're an individual student, like you just go ahead and pull the PDF down, buy the PDF off the Etsy shop, then you have it. And
I'm going to put it out there that with the postal strikes up here in Canada, the problems that we have shipping across the border, I know that all of my patterns are on my Etsy shop, are PDF downloadable. So if you're coming and you're watching and you're interested in anything that I do, mailing into the US has gotten to be a bit difficult for us Canadians. So PDF download.
Yep.
It's less expensive, and it's boop on your
You have it when you want it right now.
kind of thing. So excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
So that was one thing that I did, and then I have a bunch of commission pieces that I need to finish up for the year, and I can't really talk about them because they're probably most every one of these is going to be gifted in some sense. So I can't really even talk what I did, what type of thing I did, or what colors or anything. So when I can talk about it, I will. And that should wrap up in the next, week or so. And I've been trying to, while I've been working on my own commission work on getting some of my customer long arm quilts through the long arm.
Wait. I get to tell you, I was able to go away and do a personal retreat myself.
Yes.
I take a week every October. One of my dear friends gathers, I don't know how many there were of us. I want to say anywhere from maybe 18, 20 of us. We hit a beautiful lodge in the Muskokas on Sparrow Lake. And we just go sew for the week. So you bring your projects, which is great for somebody like Lynn and I, because we don't get a lot of personal time to sew. And if I happen to be teaching and I can't make it, the family doesn't get any homemade gifts. So my first order of business there was Christmas sock number 2, which I have made twice already, but have always had intentions to teach. But then something always gets in the road. So those darn old samples don't get finished. So the project gets punted on the side. But I got my Christmas socks done. So this is a pattern by our friend Katrina. This is the Nordic sock. And then this, which way am I going? Yeah.
There you go.
This is, I love this one. This reminds me of candy canes,
candies.
And they're fast and they're fun. They're done with Tucker trimmer. This guy has a Lemoyne in the middle. Nice little, what is he? 4-inch, 5-inch Lemoyne. Cute.
Very cute.
So I was able to, I didn't have lots to do, but it's always one of those things where you just never really have, it's finding that hour just to sit down.
Right.
And finish it. And then, like everybody else knows, because I've been talking about it for a while, during the summer when we were in Saskatoon on a family reunion, our granddaughter and I and my daughter were in a quilt shop. And I'm busy looking at fabric and chatting with the ladies. And the little one comes up to me, and see, I could talk about it because they don't watch YouTube videos. The little one comes up to me with a pattern. And she says, my grandma name is Yaya. And she goes, Yaya, can you make that bear? Well, for all of you hardened quilters out there, bears aren't something that, we sort of sew a lot about. I'm looking at this pattern thinking, oh dear, what is this going to be? So I thought, what a better place to do it than in a retreat where hopefully there's going to be somebody in there that, if I have severe problems can, more brains are better than one. So I brought all my fabric and I had traced out the interfacing pieces because they're all templates that go together. Okay. So I haven't had time to do eyes and noses, but there's bear number 1. This one has froggies on it over here. See, there's froggies. He's got a frog on his bum. And he's got cats on his feet. So
very cool.
So once I did him, I still have 2 days left. So you might as well just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Then I did this one for the 3-year-old. And she's got princess on her butt and really cool
Chubby cats.
cats on, and she still needs eyes and a nose. So I'm going to have to, that cannot be a UFO problem. So they have to be done for Christmas. Actually, they have to be done at the beginning of December because they're flying in. And then a third one, I've got eyes.
Oh, right. Yes, a pair of eyes.
Pair of eyes.
Well done.
Yeah, all together underneath the tree. Look at that. Look at how cute they are. They are memory bears. Now, I have learned something about memory bears. You're supposed to make them out of some type of clothing so that you remember somebody or something. But I think as these kids get older, hopefully they'll, have the bear left in some form when they get older, and they can just be the present that grandma made.
Right. The bear that grandma made.
I have to tell you, and a little plug in to the fabric, to the designer, Funky Friends Factory. If you go online, they have what? How many pages of different?
They probably have 300 little stuffies that you can make. Yeah.
They are just the cutest.
There's one for every sea animal, every animal, it's just amazing how many different characters they have made into these stuffies.
So I showed our buddies and Lynn my bears, and we've decided that we should make sea creatures, each of us. So between the four of us, we will each make one sea creature to bring on the cruise to have on our table. So I think there's more stuffed animals in my future. And Lynn,
yeah, apparently
the whale looks pretty easy. The whale looks pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm not doing the octopus. Those 8 legs. Nope, not happening. I've seen the octopus. The seahorse is very cute.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe starfish.
Oh yeah. Well, the whale is super easy. The whale is just a whale.
So I have yet to pick my sea creature, but that's something I got to do. It's on the list of all the stuff we need to do to get ready for this cruise. So we could talk about that now.
We can. So as I had done a screech out to Shirley, Lynn and I have set up a private, only for the cruisers, Facebook page, but we've also sent everybody an email, like a little questionnaire saying things like, how long have you been quilting? Have you ever done a cruise? Have you ever done a quilt cruise? Just general information so that we can get to know the cruisers a little bit better. So if you haven't searched your emails and found one yet, definitely give us a shout out and we can resend you that. And then once we get that information, we send you a private link to the private Facebook group.
That's right.
And you can just join, and then we can all chat together and have a little bit more of a platform to have tips and tricks about cruising, and quilting, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that it's just an area for us to share things, or if you have a question, and you haven't been cruising, you can ask that. Michelle, the cruise director, the travel agent who is actually coordinating this cruise to the Caribbean, she is also a member and will be there monitoring this as well. So as the cruise travel-y questions or conversations pop up, she's really the best resource we have for that. She knows, I can tell you the magnetic hooks I bought to take on a cruise, or my, whatever lanyard for my phone or whatever, but she really has all the information about the cruise side. And Carla and I will chime in on all the quilty things.
All the quilty things. Where I think Lynn and I are getting fairly excited. The cruise is April 6th, so that means it is immediately after Easter weekend. Now, for me, I will miss Easter weekend because I will head on down a couple of days before the ship departs, solely because the teacher can't miss the ship.
Right.
And there might be a fluke snowstorm in Toronto, and your flight gets canceled, or who the heck knows these days about flying. So I will head on down to Fort Lauderdale a few days early.
So I just want to comment on one of the comments that popped up. Terry Sue, hello.
Hey, Terry.
I just want to tell you, Terry Sue, that next week I still have a couple of openings in my Finish It classes. So you could head on over to New Hampshire from Maine and attend one of my Finish It classes, and you could maybe work on something to finish. Just wanted to put that out.
Or start a bear.
Or start a bear. I'm sure you have little ones in your family that would love one of those bears.
Actually, if we're going to do our get together in the spring, maybe we all should make a bear.
Oh, maybe we should.
We should draw names. We should draw names and make the person that we pick a bear, and the fabric has to meet their personality.
Yes. You see why we are dangerous together? Every time we're together, we formulate a plan to make more things. It's not on how we're going to go to the beach and relax with our book. It's how we're going to make more things, because we're creators. At heart, we're all creators. Yes, we like to have our relaxation time, but we also get itchy when we're not creating. So
we will be the people on the deck in the sunshine on a lounge chair with a notepad.
I know.
Just a minute, gotta write that down.
Write that note down. Yes.
Good. All right. So one more thing on my list tonight. I have a quilt behind me.
Oh, yes.
The quilt behind me is the new Island Batik pattern, my pattern for Island Batik, for the fabric line called Frosted Wishes. And I'm going to move. The pattern will be available after Christmas. It's in its proofing stage. And I call it Lumi. Lumi, which is Finnish for snow, because that is my background. And I live in the north, and it sparkles like blue sparkly snow.
Yep.
So yeah. The setted triangles have really subtle deers on them. Oh, it is super one of my favorite lines of fabric right now.
Nice.
One of those signature Carla borders where you don't have to be all on because we float them. So, nothing has to match.
Right.
The way we like it.
That's right. We like to make it easy for the quilter to feel successful.
That's right. So when I speak of Lumi and my new patterns, Shirley, what rulers did you use? It's all split Rex. The blocks are made with 4-patch and split Rex, and the outer border is a bonus unit using the split Rex tool. So are you ready? I am thinking, and I have gone to Killarney Lodge, and I am pretty serious in resurrecting the Killarney Quilting Retreat from the early 2000s. Now, you have to remember, I did retreats there for about 7 years straight. So if you're listening and you heard back in the day about the Killarney retreats, we had a ball. So yeah, I was up there last week checking out the venue. It has changed a lot. It is absolutely gorgeous. And, Killarney is Killarney. It is the home of the Group of Seven. It just oozes that feeling of creativity, at least for me, because I like the trees and the water and the big lake and all those things. So yes, stay tuned. Sign up for my newsletter. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, because if it's going to come to fruition, we will definitely be talking about that more on our episode.
Yes, and so that brings the last thing I was going to talk about, was that we are still trying to finish up the proposals for all the events for 2026. 2026 has only got a couple of spots open for me at this point. So, I'm finishing up a few proposals now, and hopefully I'll be closing that year down. And this is really not quilty, but it's kind of cruisy. Okay. So my husband turns 75 next week. So I guess that's a big deal. Yeah, I guess it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So he's kind of, oh, it's not that big a deal. But so I bought for him a 16-day cruise that's going out of LA in January. And we're going to go down the coast of Central America all the way, to do Honduras, Costa Rica, and we're going to go through Panama Canal over to Aruba and then back into Florida. So I'm really excited. We'll be gone for most of the month of January. So it's kind of cruisy. So I wanted
cruisers. Lynn is doing all of the, I'm going to rely on her heavily because I have never been on a cruise. So it'll be like, Lynn, what do I need to download? Lynn, what do I need to pack? Lynn, is there anything extra? So, so
we'll talk a little bit more in our group about some of the things that, I've done as I've gotten kind of prepped for a personal cruise, which applies to any kind of cruise that you go on, just from my side. And certainly Michelle will be giving us more information as we go on here in this next few months. But anyway, I'm really excited about that. So that means that I do have to finish everything up in the month of December so that I can actually check out for 30 days in January. So that's like sort of a big deal. But I'm excited about that.
And if you're out there and you're listening to all the chatter about the cruise, there is still space. So, now we're into winter. So our thoughts go, oh, it's cold outside. Oh, baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
And, you might want to grab a friend.
That's right. There's still spots left, and we're going to leave those spots open until well after the first of the year. Before, as long as there's cabins on the ship, we got a couple of more spots in the classroom. So think about it. We are getting very excited as those batik fabrics are heading from California to us to start working on those kits. So really excited times now as we were getting fabric.
Oh, did you freeze? Hello, Lynn. Come on back, Lynn.
On now, Carla. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's
there's some technology glitch tonight. I think it's a snowstorm.
Yeah, we're going to have that season.
Yeah.
A while back when I was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I started looking into, because I started getting busy. So when you get busy, you start looking for, is there any tips and tricks out there on productivity? And one of my kids, I think, or friends, threw me a book called Eat That Frog. And what it was is, if you've got this big project that you have to do and you're dreading it, human nature has you procrastinate because you got to do it, but you keep putting it off, and it got to the point with my frog that I actually would rather dust than eat the frog. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about a quilt. I long arm as well. I don't do a lot of customer quilts, but I do a fair amount. And every once in a while, you get that quilt that is enormous. And you know that you're going to be at it for a while. And even though I now have a computerized machine, which allows me to do other things, you still have to be present in the room and aware, et cetera, et cetera. It just so happens, and the reason I'm talking about this, because this is our topic tonight, is I take my tops, and I learned this years ago. When I receive a top, as much as you've pressed it and it's all neat and tidy, I will put it onto my pressing table, and I'll just go over it nicely with an iron. That gets me acquainted with, are there any big strings? Is there a lump I need to be aware of? And heaven forbid, are there open seams? This particular frog had 27 open seams. So how does an open seam happen? An open seam happens when you have a piece of fabric and the other piece of fabric is not level with the raw edge. And so you have one that's down here and one that's up there. And when you're coming across with your sewing machine, you actually miss a section of that fabric. So when you put it on the long arm, your seam is open. So you end up, repairing seams before it even goes on the long arm. And at that point, I put it on the long arm and I was almost done. And I found another fairly good size open seam, which I just whip stitched for the customer to take home. So, Lynn?
Yes. So I think that this fall has been one of those times where it's almost like open seam virus is occurring. Because I've had more open seams since August with my customers than I can ever remember. And I'm not really sure what it is, but open seams is one of the things that can really be a disaster on the long arm, because if you don't catch it before that foot comes across and the machine is going across that, it can literally rip a hole in that quilt as faster than you can get to that emergency red button on your machine. So it is really important that you do press your quilts well, and that you do look at that for open seams. And I know we all have our raw edges that slip. It all happens to all of us. Yeah. We just gotta be really careful before we send that off to the long arms, because I dread the time where my actual foot ends up in one of those open seams. Yeah. So I've seen more of it recently, and I'm not really sure what the phenomenon is about, but
I think my message to everybody out there is, September comes, everybody goes away. We all of a sudden we can get back in our room. We're excited to quilt. Yeah. And even if it's not September, maybe it's the middle of April or whatever. Sometimes we just sew too quick. We're so anxious to get it done or create it or whatever that we just stop paying attention to some of those basics. And those basics are, proper 1/4 of an inch and keep those raw edges even. And that means pinning. There's so many out there. And I can honestly say I don't always pin as much as I should. But as you're feeding those layers underneath that foot, I say watch for that shadow of that bottom layer, so that you can catch it before it actually slides under there and you don't know where it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
So preparing your quilt for the long arm, I know that some people struggle with piecing backs together, and I understand that. And, some of us long armers will piece backs together for you if you are really challenged with that. But communicate to us first and say, look, I need you to piece the back together. Here's my quilt size. How much yards do I need, or whatever? Just, because we will do that, and we will make sure that you do have enough, because you need to have your back bigger than your top. And the back and the batting need to be, on the larger quilts. There needs to be about 10 inches.
Yeah.
So if
we don't baste on the floor. We don't baste on the table. Your backing gets mounted to a roller system. You need that good 5 inches so that your hit any of the clamps or the leaders, the fabric carries the backing. We just need extra fabric. I thought about something and now it's gone. Keep talking.
Yeah, so the batting, we talk about what size the batting should be. I tell everybody the batting and the backing should be the same size. Yeah. So it's essentially 10, on a bigger quilt, it's 10 inches in each direction. So if you've got a quilt that's 70 by 90, you need to have a backing that's 80 by 100. Yeah. And I know everybody does, every once in a while we turn our numbers around. Like we measure our quilt top, and it's 69 inches, or it's 98 inches, and we make it 89, and then we add 10 to 89, and we end up with 99, and our quilt top was really 98 long. So you get to the long armor. Now, there's a really easy way to check to make sure that quilt top is smaller than your back, okay? So I tell people, if you're math challenged or you're space challenged, because not a lot of us have 90 inches to be spreading out these big quilts. So I tell them, I say, take your quilt top and fold it into 4. So fold it in half and then fold it in half again. Okay. So now you have 1/4 of your quilt. So there's your top. Do the very same thing with your back. Okay, so this is, you don't have to do math. There's nothing involved. And you fold this in quarters. Now you line up the folded edge with the folded edge of your quilt top. And you should see that there's fabric on both sides here. See that? See, the top is smaller than the backing. That's what you need to make sure that you have that. And what we're looking for is we're looking for that 5 inches all the way around when you're in this state. And it's an easier size for you to handle. So a lot of times I'll do a quick check with quilts coming in, especially if it hasn't yet been pressed well. I'll just fold it up in those quarters, put the 2 on top of each other, and make sure those 2 pieces are not way out of whack. Yep. Okay, so that's, if you're math challenged, I get it. Some people, they're just not, math's not their thing. But so that's just a quick check that you can do right before you leave to make sure that you didn't turn your 98 into an 89, and your quilt top and your backing are the same length. So
one of the things that I do with my customers is if they want to piece their backing, I will, and they've never pieced a backing before, because it's really not as simple as just sewing 2 hunks together. A lot of times they're sewing that selvage, and the selvage doesn't stretch. They're not, it's not on grain, so you've got it off grain a little bit, which causes a ripple when you put it onto the thing. It's not as easy as it looks. So I will piece it for you. Not a problem. I'd rather do that than have an issue. And or B, I go, come here, spend an hour with me. I will teach you how to properly piece your backing. And then you will know for the future. But when it comes to math, Lynn, I carry 108-inch wide backing. And here up north, our 45 regular quilting fabric is running $20 to $28 a meter. If you're going to do a queen size quilt or even a twin, you've got 70 inches times 2, which is 140 inches, which divided into meters is for 3.5 meters, 4 meters. You multiply 4 by $28. That's a lot of bucks. And the backing is 108, and you're going to cut it to the smallest size that you're going to need. So you're talking 2.5 meters at $28 a meter is a far better bang for your buck. And then it's no pain, no gain. You bop it off.
When they started manufacturing wide backs, it changed the ability, for us to have a single pieced back, which, is great for the long arm, because the more seams in the back, the more care we need to take as we quilt this on the machine, because, we need to make sure that there are no pleats that are formed, no puckers,
just the way you load it.
Yeah. I mean, I quilt a lot of pieced backs because I have customers that make double-sided quilts. Or they'll use the leftover fabric from the front and make a strip down the middle, or they'll put that and piece it in together to put it in the back. But the wide backs really made a difference, both from an economic standpoint, financially, as well as a processing standpoint. And there's lots available now. When they first came out, there was only a few, and now there is lots.
It's really funny because a couple of years ago, Northcott comes out with the most gorgeous panels. And Northcott made a mountain river kind of panel in 108-inch wide, like a backing, like a big scenery. Yes. I took 108 by 108, put it with a coordinating back, and I quilted it. And it's I didn't have to see, I didn't have time. So I didn't have to piece it. I just quilted
Right.
it, found
It's like
it.
a whole cloth quilt with a scene on it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lots you can do.
There are just so many of those little tips and tricks. And if you're not sure, I have no problem. Call me. I'd rather have you call me.
Right.
And we can talk about it and sort out your problems before you've spent money and bought too small of a backing.
Right.
Or one of the other things that a lot of quilters don't realize is I'll ask them, what thread color do you want? What color's your backing? So they've got I don't know, we'll say a floral, but predominantly I'll say a pink top. And then they'll say, well, I've got a dark green fabric on the bottom. And I go, okay, well, that might look great. But from my standpoint, I've now got to put a dark thread on the bottom and a light thread on the top. And as good as our machines are, they still stitch industrial speed. You sometimes get those, what I call pokies. So, and I prefer to see my bottom thread shadow through my top because then I know where it is. But you're going to end up with dark pokies all along that seam line. So my rule of thumb when quilters come in to ask about what kind of color backing is match it to the top in relation to what color thread do you want me to use on the top of your quilt. So if your background's blue, pick a blue backing. And then we don't have that black and white problem, top and bottom.
Yeah, so there's a couple other things. One thing that Carl is bringing up is the fact that every long armor is different. That's one thing that we're going to talk about. I quilt with the very same thread in the top and bottom, weight and color. So a lot of times I talk to the customer about, do you want the thread to show more on the front or the back, depending upon what's going on with their piecing. Okay. So that's one thing that's different here. So
I generally would prefer, I can do a bit of a value change, but I prefer the same color. Like if you're going to use brown on the top, I'd like
just use the same thread. Yeah.
On the bottom.
Yeah. So you would use a blue, but you would change the value. You could use a darker one on the back, slightly darker one and a lighter one. So every long armor has their own take on what works best with their machine, their types of threads. We have different machines and we came from different kind of corners of the world on our quilting. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, it'll come back in a minute.
It'll come back. So thread and what you're putting on the back. The other thing that a lot of quilters don't realize is if I put a plain fabric, not even a modeled fabric, but just that plain, what's the word I'm looking for?
Solid.
A solid on the back, that quilting is going to show up. It will scream at you, which causes a little bit of anxiety for us quilters, because if I've got a, when I, even though the computer's doing it, sometimes you get a little wobble. You're not going to see it as the person who's not used to looking at it. It will scream at me. If I have to change bobbins and the start and stop, sometimes that little bit will show up. So if you've got a heavily printed fabric, you're not going to see the quilting as much. And maybe if you want it to show up, you should go to more of a modeled fabric. If you're using just a plain solid, I did a quilt, Lynn, last year, a custom quilt done out of plain Hoffman solids. And that quilting it suited the quilt. It was absolutely wonderful. But every line,
you saw every stitch.
Every stitch just showed up. So things to think about.
Yeah. So the other thing to think about is the backing fabric, depending upon the way it's manufactured, the way it's printed, and its value can actually shadow directly through that batting to a lighter valued fabric on the front. So if you have a navy blue fabric on the back and you have a whitish background or even a beige,
Yeah.
that navy blue is going to scream right through that batting. That batting will not prevent that dark value. So that beige will actually turn and look different. And you'll see more shadowing of that lighter fabric because there'll be 2 layers and then there'll be 1 layer and the navy will be shining through that. So balancing the value, the aggregate value, like if my quilt is reading, a light to medium in value, like the guy behind me here, okay, it has a light backing. So I have a very light blue, okay? I also, because this is such a stark white with blue on it, I could not use wool. Normally, I would put wool in a quilt like this that is a signature quilt. It's custom quilted. But because the wool made that stark blue white turn creamy color, it made me cringe. So I couldn't use the wool. So think about, batting color and the color behind, the dark backing that you want to use. Think about how it will transmit down, back through your screaming orange. I'll never forget the time I wanted to put screaming orange. It was a same orange used in the front of the quilt, and I wanted
only
to use
you, Lynn. Only you would do screaming orange.
screaming orange on the back, right? Well, that's when I learned about this color transmission through the quilt. And I got the backing done and then it loaded and I'm like, oh my goodness, look at what's happened. And so off it came and the screaming orange is still in the stash waiting to be used bit by bit. But that's just another thing about, your quilts and, getting them ready to be quilted and I don't know, all the things that we run into.
Yeah. And I think, if you're a seasoned long armor, you're always there to answer questions and give advice to your quilters. Yeah. I know that we all have preferences in batting. And unfortunately, I'm going to, if you phone me, veer you away from that more department store batting purchase. I don't want to say any names, but, I'm sure for those of us around here, we all know where I'm talking about. Your long armor and your quilt shop are carrying top grade batting. You've put hundreds of hours into this quilt. And we have fairly inexpensive what I call utilitarian batting. So if I'm doing a kitty quilt, something that's going to be in the washing machine all the time, you're looking for that little bit of poof, that organic 80% cotton, but you want that, not that thin stuff. So maybe 20% poly in there. And we've all got brands that we like. I've been a Hobbs girl for 20 years. I know what it does, how it does it. We've had a problem getting Hobbs up here up north. So I ended up last fall switching to Quilter's Dream, which is here in Canada way more pricey than the Hobbs. So my long arm customers had to swallow a bit of a price increase with that. But in all, you've got the quality, the reliability in the batting without being bearded or whatever. Now I do have, and you've probably used it, Lynn, and I used it. I've done a couple of things in my Island Boutique, what I call my show quilts, because some of them end up at CQA. If it's going into a show, I'll put a base layer of 80-20 for stability, and I'll put a top layer of 100% wool.
Right.
The wool is going to give it that faux trapunto pop if I'm getting them custom quilted, which, the show quilts are. Right. If I want more of a poof, and it's something that's not just totally utilitarian, the grandchildren get straight 80-20 Hobbs, because I'm making them to be tugged around and used as forts and washed and whatever. The bedspreads that go, or the quilts that go on my bed, might get an 80 cotton 20 wool, which I do really like. So batting plays a
Yeah,
really big role. If you've got something that you are really proud of, um, definitely, talk to the long armor
right.
about batting, how you're going to use it, where it's going, because it makes a difference.
It does. We've just spent hundreds of dollars. So if you're going to spend, an extra $5 to $8 a yard on your batting to get the batting, a quality batting that is made for the job,
Yeah,
then it's really worth it. You might as well just go the extra 2 cents in just the kind of like comment of
yeah,
2 cents, to finish that project with a top quality batting. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for.
Heather chimed in and said, "My sewing machine used to give the same talk, or my sewing machine."
She's talking about Dave or Valley.
I want to meet your sewing machine, Heather. And you asked
Oh.
her to call me in the morning if your sewing machine is talking to you. Um, used to talk about thread. Don't spend hundreds of dollars on fabric and buy cheap glue to hold it together.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Absolutely. You get what you pay for.
yeah,
The cotton, the cotton in that thread, if that doesn't hold up, then all those cotton threads in your fabric are just going to come apart. So equal quality all throughout your project is what, really is the target condition. Buy quality fabric, use a quality thread and quality batting, and you're going to be happy for years and years and years.
yeah.
Yeah, I know her sewing machine dealer. So, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. The only other thing is that, we are, coming into the holidays. It is getting a time of year where it's darker more. And I think sometimes in our lives, depending on where you are in your lives, that this can become kind of a hectic time of life, where we want to be hosting and we want to spend time with lots of people because we're very thankful. In the States here, we're approaching Thanksgiving, and Canada, they just had their Thanksgiving last month. But then we're going into the holidays where we sit around and we watch movies, or we stay in our pajamas all day, or we have
We
eggnog
eat
in the afternoon.
bonbons and chocolates and chips.
Right, right. So try and, balance. Yeah, here coming from the person who's always overcommitting herself, try and balance that time for yourself. And if the time for yourself is just sitting in that chair with that eggnog, I totally get it. But relax, enjoy the time, whatever the journey is, whether it's stitching or not, making cookies with the grandkids, just enjoy
Eyeballs and a nose.
it. Yeah.
Eyeballs and a nose.
Don't put these unrealistic kind of like goals, but more of make the goal to enjoy the journey. Okay. Enjoy, rolling that cookie. So what if the cookies break? They still taste the same.
Well, that sentiment, Lynn, is, I think, what you and I, well, of course, we sort of sew on a different level, but a lot of times I will make a quilt for a sample. And I'll have 4 or 5 points that for love nor money will not turn out. And you're like, oh my God, there I am teaching and I can't get this point to go and blah, blah, blah. And at some point, you
Right.
just, my students all know me. They all know that I'm a pretty darn good quilter. And there are just times where these points and seams take on a whole new life of their own.
Right.
And it just isn't perfect. And I always say, if you want to do something perfect, find that computer that's going to do it for you perfectly, because we're only human. So, if you're making that quilt as a Christmas gift, or the bears, or whatever, the long and the short of it is, when it comes to Christmas, you've made it with your heart, you've made it with your hands,
That's right.
and just enjoy the process, and just go the journey.
So, work on that balance of, enjoying the journey, whatever it is, and try and reduce the stress that can start to build up this time of year For some of us, it doesn't build up as much as others, but it can. It really can this time of year kind of get kind of crazy. We think, oh, we're coming to fall. The days are shorter now and we're more hunkered down in, but it can get crazy. So try and prevent it from getting too crazy and enjoy your cup of tea or your eggnog or making that cookie or just doing nothing in the chair, letting the TV watch you, whatever that is.
I like when my TV watches me.
Yeah.
Then our holiday online live podcast
yes.
airs Tuesday, December the 9th, not a Wednesday, because
That's
Lynn
right.
is away.
That's right.
Yeah, she's off on her teaching episode again. I actually am really glad that everybody leaves me alone in December. My youngest daughter and family are flying in on the 13th of December from the UK with the two little ones. So that week before, other than for the live, I am hoping to be, what's done is done.
Right.
What isn't is going to get just shelved till after the new year. So,
Yep.
yeah, I getting all those babies over and Mama's kitchen is going, and that's what it's about.
Yep.
So I think my list is done. Is your list done, Lynn?
I guess so. I could talk forever, but it's always fun catching up with you guys and spreading some of what we are passionate about. Tonight was a little bit more about long arming than we've done in the past, and but people are kind of finishing up their quilts and getting those gifts done. So we just wanted to share a few of those insights we had on that side of the fence.
A big thank you to everybody who chimed in and sent comments.
Yes.
If you're out there and you're listening, give us a thumbs up, like the page. It's
Right.
what keeps us on, and subscribe and tell your friends, because the more subscribers we have, the longer we keep chatting. So,
That's right.
And if there's something you want to hear about, want to learn more about, throw us a line. Lynn and I check back on the comments periodically, or you can Facebook message us. Lynn's Facebook
through the Facebook or our websites. Many different ways you can get to us. So let us know what you need. We're always happy to share what we know, the things we've run up against, and what we've learned from those challenges. So.
Yeah. So.
Right.
That's it, Lynn.
That's it.
Okay,
I think we're. Yeah. So thanks, gang, for joining us. It's always a pleasure. So again, we love to hear your thoughts. We're looking forward to seeing you in about a month. So keep creating, stay inspired, and enjoy your quilting journey and that eggnog.
All right. Love my eggnog. Yeah. All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night.